This is Baby Doll Soaps and Things reporting live from Baltimore. Alright, YouTubers, this is different from my usual videos. This is not a doll video. I forgot to bring my doll head today. This is a rather somber but educational video today. This follows a Georgia couple's baby that was decapitated. Decapitated at a Georgia hospital. Say what? Now, you would think something like that would come out of a freakish sci-fi horror film, but for Jessica Ross, 20, and her partner, Travion Isaiah Taylor Sr., 21, this was far from a movie. Ladies, imagine your water breaking, gush, water everywhere. In my Lizzo voice, it's about damn time. Yep, or fellas, your missus is going into labor. I know, right? Crazy. It's excited. It's exhilarating. It's so many emotions. You're rushing. You're in a lot of pain. You're nerve-wracking. You're psyched. But at the same time, you're happy because this little bundle of joy is en route into the world. Amazing. It's just amazing to give life to a little human, and this little human is wrapped perfectly up in a warm blanket once he or she enters the world, smelling like the freshest scent of baby powder and just having the softest skin, milky little hands. It's just perfect. I've never given birth, but I've heard of birth stories, and I know it has to be a beautiful picture. Well, that was supposed to happen to the Georgia couple that I mentioned, Jessica Ross and boyfriend Travion Isaiah Taylor Sr. at Southern Regional Medical Center in Riverdale, Georgia. Instead, this dream was a nightmare. A nightmare that one couldn't fathom. On July 9th at approximately 10 a.m., Miss Ross's water broke. In about 10 minutes, the couple arrived at the hospital. Miss Ross wasn't fully dilated until 8:40 that night, 8:40 p.m. She was then instructed by medical staff and her personal obstetrician, Dr. Tracy St. Julian, who happens to be a very reputable doctor in the Riverdale, Georgia area. I was even looking up reviews of this lady. Nothing but positive reviews. So apparently, she's good at what she does, or you would think so. The doctor was not employed by the hospital, but had an affiliation with them previously, so she has delivered many of her clients' babies or patients' babies at that particular hospital. As Miss Ross pushed through this rather difficult delivery, the baby did not properly descend. Instead of going through a C-section, Dr. St. Julian decided to apply maximum strength pressure trying to deliver this baby who was experiencing shoulder dystocia and severing this infant's head clean from the neck and the rest of the body. I was thinking to myself, I want to know how much pressure this broad had in her hands. Was she She-Hulk? Was she Wonder Woman? Or some freak of nature? I've heard all kinds of stories in my life of hospitals. I know years ago, a couple in Denver, during a C-section, their daughter came out with a very fat gush on her face because they cut so deep that they scarred this baby. And then tried to say it was a scratch when her father asked what was that on her face. Tried to conceal it and lie about it. But this childbirthing situation is wow. It's very vivid, it's very colorful. This story really takes the cake of all horrors. All birthing horrors. What in the actual fudge? What the heck? Anyway, so my second question was, why didn't this doctor just immediately perform C-section when she knew this child was stuck? I'm pretty sure she's had these experiences before, and she's taken the right precautions and measures. Yet she didn't do it for this baby. Um, I mean, wouldn't that be reasonable? You're now wondering, why didn't she do this? And you're probably wondering, maybe to all sorts of things, what in the hell is shoulder dystocia? It's pretty much when the child's trying to come out, and I think he was in a breech form. The shoulder gets stuck behind the mother's pelvic bone. So not only is that very uncomfortable for the baby, it's also very uncomfortable for the mother. According to Dr. Kiara King, an OBGYN from Illinois, shoulder dystocia occurs roughly in 3% of vaginal deliveries, or women being short in stature. As you see, Miss Ross was a very short and stout woman in stature. Ross, who was 20, had also been diagnosed a year prior, July of 2022, with type 2 diabetes. So her pregnancy was considered high risk. Her weight, her height, and the fact that she was a diabetic were all factors in her pregnancy. Another risk that poses for shoulder dystocia would be if the baby was over 4,000 grams, which is equivalent to 8 pounds, 13 ounces. I'll tell you the story. I think my aunt almost had a similar, because her child is 20. Her oldest son is 20. She almost had a similar issue, when she was giving birth. Nadir at birth was well over 10 pounds. But he was a vaginal birth. He was difficult to push out, but for somehow she was able to deliver him vaginally, and by his largeness she suffered a lot of injury and severe vaginal tearing. It was ugly. However, this couple's baby only weighed 7 pounds and 6 ounces, which was less than the suggested weight for shoulder dystocia. Kind of has you thinking what really happened. Why did this happen? How did this happen? While the doctor points out risks, Dr. King says of shoulder dystocia, it's something that, she also adds that it's something that we cannot fully predict. And you can't, because things happen during the moment of birth. Things happen. We know the babies have a mind of their own when they want to change positions in the body. And, things happen. You can't predict this. No one could predict this. No one could foresee this. This is very true. But I'm sure the hospital and Dr. St. Julian will try to blame everything on Miss Ross, of course, to avoid any type of accountability, and use the factors that I named in the case. The patient was short, she's overweight, she's diabetic. Yeah, sure. So it was her fault. She caused all these errors that led up to her child's death. Not the fact that they were negligent and failed to follow proper medical procedures. Dr. St. Julian's private practice is premier women's OBGYN. They declined to give any comment to the media. I mean, well, what the hell could they say? Sorry, our doctor applied so much pressure it snapped the head off a newborn. Whoopsie daisy. This isn't like making a boo-boo and correcting it with whiteout or eraser or even starting over again. This child was decapitated. His head was severed from his body. He's DOA. This baby was literally entering the world headless. It lost its head. He was heading nowhere. Why? All because a doctor and medical staff failed to follow proper procedure. I don't get it. That moment, Miss Ross was having issues. The moment that Miss Ross was having issues, and the shoulder dystocia was preventing an actual vaginal birth, this is when a light bulb or a green light should have went on in Dr. St. Julian and the medical staff's head. That, we need to prepare this patient for a C-section. An emergency C-section at that. I don't know. I'm not trying to make light of this situation or make fun of it, because this is far from funny. This is Very heartbreaking, gut-wrenching, and disturbing to say at least. It's out there. It's pretty tough. And I take it personal because, if shoe was on the other foot, how would I feel? People make light of things until it happens to them. Yeah, so this story moved me in a way. It's very mind-boggling. But, yeah, I don't mean to get off topic. What's even more problematic is how black women are treated during their prenatal months up to delivery by medical professionals and hospital staff. Now, this topic I will touch more on in future videos because I want to talk about that. Miss Ross qualified for an emergency C-section due to her shoulder dystocia. Flat out, that's what she should have got. They had the necessary tools, training, and education to follow through with these protocols. Yet, they failed to do such. Dr. Joya Creer Perry, she's an OBGYN and founder of the National Birth Equity Collaborative, stated that the doctor, the nurses, and other staff members should have agreed that the patient was deserving of a C-section. I mean, well, duh. That should have been the next selection. A C-section. The child was not responding the way he should, coming out vaginally. C-section. He was stuck. He was in his mother's pelvic bone. I know some doctors that have dealt with patients with shoulder dystocia will use things. They'll try to use forceps, which are pretty dangerous because it can crush the cranium and give children long-term developmental issues. And a suction where they try to suck the baby's head, but in most cases that doesn't work. King also stated with her experiences with deliveries, risk factors like diabetes and a larger baby would constitute for a C-section. The doctors, nurses, and staff should all have been on board with Miss Ross getting a C-section. But let's get into the nitty-gritty, folks, because it's going to get worse. Buckle your seats, Dorothy. You're going to be a long way from Kansas in this story. Okay, where was I? Okay, the young couple were given the grief-stricken news about their newborn, told he did not survive. They were even discouraged from getting an autopsy on the baby.
You don't find that suspicious?
Right. Very suspicious, huh? So you cremate this baby, you can't really tell the cause of death, no trace, no body, no crime, right? Yep. And these are so-called medical professionals. Wow. And you're tampering with a crime scene. Tampering with evidence. As a criminal justice major. Serious charge. And I was going to UMES. They wanted to clean up the crime scene. While they took the deceased baby away, this is where Dr. Julian and medical staff had to work on their game plan. They slapped the severed head of the deceased infant back onto his body as if nothing happened. So it's like, how if I had the doll, you pop the head off the doll and just put it back on. No, it's nothing. Explains why the couple had to look at him from a glass and they couldn't touch him, because had they picked him up, the head would have came straight off. Boop. Plop right off. No, that would have been sick. If that were me, would have probably sent me into some type of mental institution, some type of mental breakdown. Now this is where things take a twist for the worse. Because it gets worse, and it gets even more sinister. Okay. The baby was taken to the funeral home, where an autopsy was performed on the deceased infant. Which to me was weird. Usually when someone dies in a hospital, there's protocol. The examiner in that county picks up the baby, or picks up the body, determines the cause of death, and then releases the body to a nearby funeral. No hospital staff dropped this deceased child off at a funeral home just to get rid of it, okay? Wow. I'm pretty sure the funeral home was not expecting this. Sylvania Watkins, general manager of the Willie A. Watkins Funeral Home in Riverdale, Georgia, said, "I felt a sense of urgency to say this. This is not right. The hospital delivered the body to the funeral home and not the Clayton County Medical Examiner as it was protocol. When this did not happen, Watkins wasted no time in hesitating to reach out to the family of the baby. He revealed the true nature and the true death of the baby to the family. And all I have to say to Mr. Watkins is kudos to him for having some sense of humanity. And while this wasn't any better news to already distraught and torn up family, it did give them closure. It gave him closure. Concealing the actual death of the child is not only negligent, it's a crime. So now Dr. Julian and the Southern Regional Medical Center staff became criminals now. You went from healthcare professionals to abusers to murderers to liars and straight up criminals. Wow, it just gets worse and worse and worse. Wow. Ugh. The medical staff and Dr. Julian, I think, should be arrested for this. They ought to be arrested. I mean, concealing with a crime and tampering with evidence is that is a charge. Excuse me. They need to go down. And the actual nerve of these people. Southern Medical Regional Hospital is standing by their denial of the allegations of wrongdoing, and that this unfortunate death occurred in utero prior to delivery and decapitation. I'm going to give you a little bit of facts. In 2020 alone, the infant mortality rate during delivery in the U.S. was 5.4 deaths for every 1,000 live births, according to the CDC. Other data show the rate was the highest among black babies. So it's not only black mothers in prenatal months mistreated, but black babies are getting the same treatments as their black mothers. 10.6 deaths per 1,000 live births. In Georgia, according to the WANF, which is a Georgia, local Georgia channel, black infants are more than likely to die during birth in comparison to white infants. As I said, I will cover more on the treatment of how black women are in the medical field during their prenatal months and how their children are being treated as such. We'll go through all of that. So currently Ross and Taylor, they are in a lawsuit with Dr. Julian. They're suing her separately, and they're suing Southern Regional Medical Center. And good. May they win. May they sue the pants off of these people. And Dr. Julian, even though she has, St. Julian, has such good reviews, I think she should lose all her credibility. The moment when she wanted to fib, and her and the Southern Regional Medical team wanted to fabricate stories of how this actual child died and wanted to cover it, they lost all their credibility. They should be fired. They should be out of practice. And this is not a good look for the hospital itself. There are plenty of hospitals that have shut down just for doing crap. And maybe Southern Regional Medical Center needs to be one of them. But this will at least smudge the reputations of these people. I know a lawsuit and money can't bring back their child. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. But I think this couple can be a teaching method for other people. So this can't happen again. I don't know what or how they would deal with this. I mean, as I look, the father looks very angry, like he wants to kill somebody. And the mother, if you just look in her eyes, it's nothing there. There's no emotion, there's nothing there, and not because she doesn't feel. You done ripped the life out of her, literally. But it's like a sense of sadness somewhere, as it should be. Wow. That story almost made me cry. It made me very sick to my stomach, and because my channel features about dolls, reborns, and babies and stuff, but I also talk about real stuff at times and nitty gritty stuff, and I'm gonna get to talking about a whole lot of other stuff about this too. I had to talk about this story. It made me sick. Kind of gave me nightmares too, and it ain't even my child. And something was put on my spirit to talk about it. I hope the couple takes these people to the cleaners, to the fact they are left bare. The rite of passage is during birth is when a mother and child connect skin to skin. That means the baby comes out, gets his or her first look at mom, because now they've been hearing that voice for 9 months. Now they become familiarized with the voice. They get to recognize the face, the body, the feeling, the heartbeat. She didn't get to have any of that. It was all taken away from her. Think of Mr. Taylor. I know I talk a lot about Mr. Ross, but Mr. Taylor's hurting. This was his namesake, his first son, and the joy of him watching his newborn in the nursery sleep peacefully, swaddled, getting to hold his son, was denied to him as well. It seems to me a lot of these hospitals in a good old Peach State are tripping, because this isn't the first time I've heard of craziness going on in Georgia hospitals. First, earlier this year, was the Emory University with that BS TikTok on the X, when the maternity nurses were making fun of parents after giving birth to their children and talking about how annoying they are. I don't understand what I notice, a lot of nurses have some of the nastiest condescending attitudes. A lot of them are very young, so they join this profession because of the money. They're not in it for the passion. They're not in it, and I'm not saying all of them, I'm not going to speak about all, but a lot of them that I've been around, nasty attitudes. Nasty. They just have this attitude about them. I've even seen this more so in hospitals when I was a patient. Some were pretty nasty. Not necessarily to me, but to other patients. And I'm going to give my commentary on that that BS X TikTok. Because the nurses, and I heard all those nurses got fired, as rightfully so. You're doing this at your job, and then you're talking about people, and you're violating HIPAA laws. So, yeah, this is the reason why I couldn't go into detail with what I do at my job, or talk about certain people, because it's a violation of HIPAA laws. You don't have to mention names when you're talking about people's health situations. You violate HIPAA laws, and those idiots should have gone. Good, kudos to them. Such idiots. And then, this Southern Regional Medical Center, debacle. I haven't heard anything bad about Grady. For what I heard is Grady is the best hospital in the metro Atlanta area. I've heard very positive things about Grady. But yeah, the couple's in a lawsuit. I pray that they win. I pray that they get something. Now that they found out how their child actually died, that should offer maybe a little bit of closure. I don't know how much closure, but at least they know the truth. How they'll move forward from this, I guess, is one day at a time. It's no stranger that black women are treated like shit during their prenatal months. In healthcare, period. Because, of course, they think we can handle pain better. It's all in our mind. We don't feel pain. Go figure. Well, anyway, folks, this is Baby Doll Soaps and Things. I'm signing off. That's my 2 cents on this piece. Bye, folks.